I raised Chris.
Yes, he did.
Chris' mom raised him, and so Chris calls me Dad. Because I was, I guess he followed my career. His mom is a single mom, and so we kind of talked about that today. So it's the same way that, what's it, Ted? Yeah. Is my nephew. Chris is also my son. Just met Chris for the first time today. But it's nice, for me when I come back to the Twin Cities, I always feel that I'm coming back home, because this is where I lived for the 12 years that I played here throughout the whole season. I think Tony Oliva and I and Jim Perry were the only players that stayed here throughout the winter. I think everybody else took off and went back home to where they came from. So this will always be my home. My youngest daughter is buried here, so when I come into the Twin Cities, I'm able to go out and sit and talk to her a little bit. So this will always be home to me.
First of all, I'd like to commend you for your incredible contribution to the community. As you've described, probably just a little piece of it, but I know it's a remarkable contribution, so I want to thank you for that. There's a few kids in this room, including my son, and I know some of them are baseball players. He is a 12-year-old. Do you have any piece of advice for young ball players?
Well, when I was growing up in Panama, I was 5, 6 years old. And I would always listen to Armed Forces Radio on Sunday and listen to the games. That's the only time we got Major League games. And I always wondered if there were 40,000, 50,000 people in the seats. And I said to myself that one day I will get my opportunity to play Major League Baseball. And I used to walk around with broomsticks and bottle caps, flipping them up in the air and swinging at them, every day of the week. And I think that's what kids have to do today. Kids aren't doing that anymore because there's so many different games now that are out there that they're playing. We're losing a lot of young people to baseball, taking them away from baseball into other sports. And I tell kids that if you want to play this game, you have to know the history of the game, respect the players that came before you, and you have to have that passion about going out and playing. I go out and watch a lot of Little League games now and see the kids standing in the outfield and they're bored, they just want to get it over with. And sometimes I walk down the line and I just tell them to wake up, I tell them to get into a position where they can be ready to field the ball. And I think one of the other things that's happening today in Little League sports is that I think most of the guys, most of the dads and the coaches that are working with these kids, the majority of them are in it to win. And so when you start thinking about winning too much, then you forget about the other part of developing the kids. Teaching them the way the game should be played and teaching them the right things. Whether they have a good day or a bad day, we have to learn, we have to continue to encourage them, not discourage them. And I see a lot of discouragement in the Little League today.
So this gentleman took one of my questions, but because the golf handicap came up, I guess embarrassing questions are okay. I was going to ask you, one of my childhood memories, and there's a lot of them of you playing, was you were quite a tobacco chewer. And it seems to me I recall, and I'd ask you to confirm this, you got hit with a pitch or a ground ball or something and actually swallowed.
Oh, I swallowed it.
Your chew, and I think you were quite sick on the field.
I swallowed it a lot. I would hit first base and I would swallow it. But the reason I chewed tobacco is because I was like a Coke addict. And I would drink about 10 bottles of Coke during the course of a ball game. So instead of drinking water. So then I went through different stages of trying different things. You know, I chewed cardboard with gum. I chewed toilet paper with gum. I chewed tobacco, and I enjoyed chewing it. But there were times that it hurt. You know, and I'll tell you a funny story, because I remember playing a game at Angel Stadium, and I had this wad in my mouth, and it was really juicy. And so when I hit first base, I swallowed the whole thing. And it gives you instant diarrhea. It's like a laxative. I'm serious. It's like a laxative. And so if you chew tobacco and swallow, make sure that you're close to it.
That's a good kid message right there.
Yeah. But you know, I started in 1964, my first year as a rookie. And I was the only kid out of high school with all these college guys, and they're all from Virginia and Kentucky and South Carolina. And you know, here I'm the only black kid, all these southern kids. And we were playing in Cocoa Beach one time, and I was off that day. The manager decided not to play me. So I'm sitting on the bench, and the guys took me down at the end of the bench and introduced me to beach nut chewing tobacco. And you know, I figured, well, yeah, all these guys are doing it, I'm going to try it. Well, about the 7th inning, the manager called me to pinch hit. And my head was spinning because I wasn't spitting, I was swallowing this. And I walked up to him and I said, Skip, I says, you know, I'm kind of like nauseated. And he says, you want to chew with the big boys? I want you to go up and pinch hit. So I walked up to the plate to pinch hit. The first pitch that was thrown, I hit a triple into a ball into right center. And you know, round second, round first, round in second, and as I'm getting close to third base, I kind of head first slide, and as I head first slide, I just went, blah. I threw up, and my face is full of stuff. And that was my introduction into chewing tobacco. So now, I thought my day was over. I figured, well, you know, I got the triple, and I scored the run. And so he says, grab your glove, you're going out to second base. So, you know, it's always when someone gets put into play defense, the first ball is hit to him. Well, the first 3 balls were hit to me. One was like a curve, it hit the ball with some top spin, hit me in the toe. I never didn't even touch the ball, it just hit me in the toe. The next one hit me in the chest. And the next one hit me on my left foot. And I looked into the dugout, and he was just cracking up. He was laughing because he said, okay, you want to do this with the big boys? Okay, you've got to go.
One more.
Thank you. You had a very unique hitting style, and it was quite unique among the majors, I think. You know, one thing that really struck me was when I saw you on the cover of Sports Illustrated with Ted Williams, you know, when you hit 406, I thought that was a pretty special moment. Would you mind taking some time just talking about your hitting style and why it's so unique and you don't really see that copied anymore?
Well, Nolan Ryan was the guy that changed my hitting style. When I came up to the big leagues, I had my hands up. And Nolan Ryan threw a high fastball, and when you're standing straight up, it looks like a good pitch. And it was a very hard pitch to catch up to. And I must say that Nolan struck me out. I'm number 4 on his list. He struck me out 29 times over the years that I faced him. And so I got tired of swinging at that high pitch, and I decided I was going to experiment and change around my batting stance a little bit. And I would go out and have the coaches throw different pitches to me the lower I got. And I found out that if I stayed down and didn't come up, that I wouldn't chase that high pitch. And so that's where my batting stance came from. And I started tinkering, and I would change from pitch to pitch or at bat to at bat. Depending on how a pitcher is going to pitch me, I would change from pitch to pitch or at bat to at bat. Because you have to make minor changes. I never made big changes, but just minor changes. And so after that, Nolan couldn't get me out anymore. You know, I think I ended up hitting 300 off of him. And I remember on one occasion at the old mat, I got down into my crouch. Let me go back and tell you that I forced Nolan to bring the fastball down. And when he brought the fastball down, it was straighter. When the fastball is up here, it would take off. So I forced him to bring the fastball down. And I remember playing at the old Met one time, and I'm going to get into my crouch, and he stood on the mound and he yelled at me, "Stand up, stand up!" Because I started hitting one against him. And so when I went from the Twins to the Angels and Nolan were there, we had such a great relationship and talked about that all the time. And he is one tremendous individual to me. He is on the same level as Harmon Killebrew is.
Rod, show the boys. We've said, show the boys that stance.
You know, that funny stance?
Yeah, show the boys.
This, I would start sometimes closed, and then I would open my front foot, and then I would get down. Oh, wow! So when I loaded to go back, I would always stride and stay down. Where before, when I was upright, I would always stride, and I would always come up and make that high fastball look like a strike when it was a ball.
Thanks so much. Oh. Thanks so much for inviting me. And please continue to do the great work that you guys have done over the years, and because I know I appreciate it, and so many other people appreciate it. So thank you. It's always good to come home.
Thank you. I'd like to do two things. First of all, I would like to confer on you, on behalf of this club, not because you played baseball, but because of what you've done in the community, a Paul Harris Fellow recognition. And secondly, it is our tradition to put a book in your name in the Downtown Fair School, and we would like to put apple fractions in your name, and if you could sign that, that would be terrific. Thank you for everything you do. You're spectacular. Thank you.